Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to take a look at a nice W3 or Wave 3 trade setup that's just unfolded on a slightly longer term chart of the ES. But as usual, we have to look at our risk disclaimer and remind you that all examples in these videos should be considered as hypothetical. No trades are actually taken, they're just shown for illustration and trading purposes only. Remind you there's a risk of loss in trading and investing. Put another way, all professional traders know and understand, but more importantly accept that losses can and will and do unfold. It doesn't matter what trading approach you take, there always will be losing trades. Right, this is the W3 trade setup I'd like to have a look at. But before we start, I'd just like to remind all viewers that MTPredictor is not a black box system. We don't believe that markets can be followed 100% of the time. That is basically because markets are random about 50% of the time or slightly more. In other words, half the time you can't be doing any analysis. In other words, the picture is not clear. So the question arises, how do we define what is a clear picture? Well, we go out to the higher time frame chart. So on this 15-minute chart, we'd go out to a 60-minute chart or an hourly chart. So what we're looking for is we're looking for time frames between 3 and 5 time frames higher. If you're trading on a daily chart, you go out to a weekly. If you're looking at a 3-minute chart, you'd go out to the 15-minute. So I just want to use our training mode, and I want to go back before this low here unfolded. So what we do is we go to previous swing highs and lows, we right mouse click, we then do decision point, and can you see how that gave you an area of potential support? But more important, it's on the chart in advance. So you're there waiting for it. In other words, you're ready for that area in advance. If I turn trading mode off, we're then looking for the market to make a meaningful reversal at the projected support or resistance zone we had on the chart in advance. In other words, we're looking to see the market has done what we anticipated. In other words, the picture's become clear. So when we come down to our 15-minute chart, we can see this a bit clearer here. In fact, I'll just use our training mode again and go back to when that TS3 setup arrives. You can see it a bit clearer. Can you see here how's your 60-minute support zone? There it is on the chart. Here's your 15-minute chart, went down into that 60-minute support zone and then started to rally off that. In other words, it made a meaningful reversal at the projected support that you had on the chart in advance. In other words, the picture is starting to become clear. The market made an initial rally up, then made an initial correction down into a potential TS1 or W3 trade setup. Our MTP trend had then turned blue as well to confirm that the larger degree trend was indeed up, but up off our larger degree support. So this is what we're looking for. We're looking for the market to make a meaningful reversal and then have the pictures clear. So let's place our analysis on. Right mouse click, do analysis. Excuse me. And our projected target for a W3 trade setup is the typical Wave 3 WPT. This is why we like these trade setups so much, because what we're looking to capture here is the end of a Wave 2. In other words, we start our sequence here. This is using my unique isolation approach to Elliott Wave. We do this because the market is random half the time and therefore we can't be placing counts on the chart 100% of the time. So we look to start our sequence when the picture becomes clear. In other words, when we're making a meaningful reversal of higher time frame DP support or resistance. So this is where our sequence starts. The initial rally will be Wave 1. We then make a minor ABC correction into a potential Wave 2. Then after that, we're anticipating that we'll get a strong Wave 3. We like this because Wave 3s are typically the strongest and longest in a completed 5-wave sequence. Therefore, when they unfold as anticipated, the profits are large, not just in dollars, but in risk to reward. In other words, large in relation to your initial risk or your losses. So if this trade goes wrong, you can see here I go forward a bar, it's now taking you into a long trade. If it goes wrong and gets stopped out, it'll be a -1R loss. Remember, losses can and will and do unfold. This is part of trading. There always will be losing trades. But the trick is when the losses come through, they're kept small. And if I turn trading mode off, you can see this is what the market has actually done. It rallied up, slight correction, carried on back up again to hit the typical Wave 3 WPT. There it is, just hit that now. At that level, a profit of approximately 13.5R was available. In other words, the potential profit at that level was 13.5 times the initial risk. And this is why we like our W3 or wave 3 trade setups, because it allows you to capture the wave 3, in other words the strongest and longest swing in a completed 5-wave sequence. So over time, hopefully your profits are large, but not just large in dollars, but large in relation to the initial risks. So hopefully this has been a good example of one of our MTPredictor trade setups. In fact, one of our favorite MTPredictor trade setups, the W3 trade setup. And can you see how we anticipated this in advance by firstly going to your higher time frame chart and placing that DP on the chart in advance, and then going down to the shorter time frame chart and seeing whether the market did indeed reverse at that level, which it did. We then start our sequence from there. The MTP trend helped confirm that the large group trend was indeed up off that low, and that gave you permission to then consider that particular trade setup. So a very good example of our favorite MTPredictor W3 or wave 3 trade setup that's just unfolded on a 15-minute chart of the ES.